Hello everyone, welcome back. Tom with Capo Fetish. Today we're going to go way back in time, 60 years in time to 1963, 6 decades ago. I'm going to talk about 10 great albums from that year. A very, very important year, 1963, at least in the US and the UK. A lot going on politically, a lot going on musically, a lot going on culturally. So we're going to talk about music. I picked out 10 great albums from that year. We're going to start it off here at number 10 with an album, great jazz album, John Coltrane's Impressions. Half of this album was recorded live at the Village Vanguard in 1961. The other half recorded in the studio. One track in 62, one track in 63. Probably the most important track on here is a song called India, which the Byrds took a lot of influence from. On their 65 tour in Britain, they were driving around listening to this album, Africa Brass from John Coltrane and Ravi Shankar. And the song 8 Miles High is definitely influenced by India, as you can tell. As if you listen to India, it has a lot of freeform playing, kind of like Roger McGuinn does in that song. There's that kind of melody, that do-do-do-do kind of thing going on as well. So very influential for the Byrds and that single. There's also some great studio cuts, tracks like Up Against the Wall and After the Rain. After the Rain was recorded in 63. And this is just a really great album. There's only 4 tracks. So it was recorded on the, released on the Impulse label in 63. This is just a CD release that I picked up years back. But an important album in John Coltrane's discography and a definite must-have in your collection. So this is John Coltrane's Impressions from 1963. Number 9, we have Surfer Girl by the Beach Boys. This is their 3rd album. A great leap forward for Brian Wilson in terms of songwriting, arranging, and producing. You have some really phenomenal songs on here, especially In My Room. It starts off with that kind of that really beautiful opening with the harp, and then those just incredibly gorgeous harmonies. This is like a 1990 re-release, and these sound great. These are like those twofers that they were doing for the Beach Boys catalog in the 1990s. A lot of bang for your buck, and they still sound really, really amazing. So what we got on here, we have Surfer Girl, the hit. Very, very good classic early Beach Boys song. We have Catch a Wave, another great song. Little Disc Coupe, In My Room, as mentioned before. I'd say three quarters of this album is very, very good. The other half is kind of filler, which a lot of early Beach Boys albums are. But the killer cuts are great. It definitely shows a leap forward for Brian Wilson. And, you know, listening to these cuts on this particular reissue, they just come right at you. I mean, the harmonies are just absolutely in your face and just gorgeous and beautiful. So Surfer Girl from 63, the 3rd Beach Boys album for me, coming in at number 9. Coming in at 8 is an incredible album by the Hammond B3 extraordinaire Jimmy Smith, Back at the Chicken House. This has jazz guitarist Kenny Burrell guesting on a few tracks. Just one of those great listens, just the Hammond B kind of dominating all tracks. We've got the title track, Back at the Chicken Shack. We got When I Grow Too Old to Dream, Minor Chant, Messy Bessie, and On the Sunny Side of the Street. All very long tunes. One of many great albums in this period from Jimmy Smith, very influential Hammond B3 organist. I read somewhere that Ian McLaughlin from The Faces is really, this is a real hero of his. And you can hear it on those Faces albums. Great Hammond organ playing. So Jimmy Smith, Back at the Chicken Shack, coming in at number 8. Coming in at number 7 is the 2nd Beatles album, With the Beatles. Released the same day as JFK was assassinated. Kind of like the end of one era and the beginning of another. This is really the early period of Beatlemania. It Won't Be Long starts off. Great John Lennon song, just very joyous and exuberant. All I've Got to Do, another great John Lennon song. All My Loving, Don't Bother Me, first George Harrison song released on album. Little Child, Till There Was You, Please Mr. Postman, Roll Over Beethoven. Great, great version of Money ends the album by John Lennon. You know, and speaking of the Beatles, you know, and speaking of, just thinking of those new red and blue releases, I'm just perplexed why they put Roll Over Beethoven and You Really Got a Hold on Me when they could have put It Won't Be Long, which is a great, great Beatles song that would have fit great on that reissue. And even Money would have been a better, a better substitute from those other two cover songs. But that's just my opinion. You know, I never know why people do certain things they do at these record companies. But anyway, With the Beatles is a great, great album. Not really talked about a lot as far as people's favorite album, but it's an exuberant listen. Very joyous, as all early Beatle albums are. So this is coming in at number 7 for me from 1963, With the Beatles. Number 6 is a great, great album of instrumentals by Antonio Carlos Jobim. This is all instrumentals. He's covering The Girl from Ipanema about a year before it came out, or a year and a half before it came out, the original version with Astrud Gilberto. You got Desafinado. You got Corcovado. Just amazing, amazing instrumental versions of these classic bossa nova songs. I remember being 5 or 6, walking around the mall where I grew up, Fallbrook Square Mall in Canoga Park, California, with my mom. And this particular album was always playing loud over the speakers. It was kind of an outdoor mall. There were like 2 big department stores, Penny's and Sears, and a lot of like small mom and pop shops. And it was always kind of empty in the mall area outside, but they always had this particular CD blasting through the mall. And it just had this really, really cool, surreal vibe. I always loved it. I never knew who it was until I got older. But as soon as I realized who it was, I picked this up. It's such a great listen. The arrangements are amazing. Antonio Carlos Jobim was one of the greatest writers of his era in Brazil. Just amazing arrangements, production. He plays piano and guitar on this record here. It's just a must. It's just great, great listening. Just that kind of bittersweet kind of feeling that's in these albums from the time. So yeah, Antonio Carlos Jobim. The title is The Composer of Desafinado Plays, 1963. Coming in at number 6. Coming in at number 5 is a killer blues album from Eda James. Eda James rocks the house. This is a performance taken from performance in Tennessee from September 1963, and it's a perfect title because Eda definitely does rock the house. There's a lot of call and response going on with the audience. It sounds like a sold-out crowd in a very packed club. She opens up with Something's Got a Hold on Me, and she's just grunting and growling and screaming, and it's almost like she's like almost a little punk, just delivering the goods. And what an amazing talent Eda James was. I love when she's doing the blues and really being raw. She does What I'd Say, Money. She does her own version of Money. Sweet Little Angel. She does Ooh Papa Do. Woke Up This Morning, Ain't That Lovin' You Baby. That is such a killer track. If you've never heard this, check it out. It's definitely different than albums like At Last, which are more kind of heavily produced, orchestrated. This is just Eda at her rawest with a great backup band pulling the weight. So Eda James rocks the house, coming in at number 5. Excellent stuff. Coming in at number 4 is one of the best live albums. James Brown at the Apollo Theater. This catches James at an early peak in 1963. Pre-funk, just all soul, R&B. The band is tighter than fuck. He's doing just all the great early stuff. Think, Lost Someone is just an absolute gem. It goes on for about 10 minutes, just working the crowd up into a frenzy. I Found Someone. What Do You Do to Me? I Want You So Bad. I Love You. Yes, I Do. Bewildered. Night Train. This is an amazing, amazing record. And a big seller, too, back in '63. I read somewhere that some stations would play, you know, the entire side of the record, you know. They won't even play one song, just the entire side. And this is the best way to listen to this record, is in its entirety. It's an incredible performance, all 30 minutes. This guy truly was the master of the stage. Soul Brother #1, James Brown. And another great album, if you've never heard it, came out a few years ago. I've mentioned it in previous videos. It's Live in Augusta, Georgia, 1969. That shows him at another peak late in the 60s. I'll talk about that again in another video, but you just can't beat James Brown live. There's nobody really that can compare to him as a performer and just delivering the goods 110%. Amazing, amazing album. James Brown, Live at the Apollo, 1963, coming in at 4. Number 3 is one of my all-time favorite jazz albums, Kenny Burrell's Midnight Blue. This is one of the most coolest jazz albums of all time. Love his guitar sound, that clean, really just, really, how do you say it? Just really fluid playing. Let me read off a couple tunes off here that are just phenomenal here. You got Mule, Soul Lament, Midnight Blue, the title track. And then on the CD, you have a couple of bonus tracks. You've got K-Twist, Kenny's Sound. This is a flawless album. A must for any collection, jazz, pop, whatever. You must have this in any collection. This is an amazing record. Released on the Blue Note label, a classic Blue Note album. Kenny Burrell, Midnight Blue, just excellent. Coming in at number 2 is Bob Dylan's second album, The Freewheelin' Bob Dylan. This is probably his greatest protest album. Blowin' in the Wind, Girl from the North Country, Masters of War, Bob Dylan's Blues, A Hard Rain's Gonna Fall. Just a classic. Flawless record. Don't Think Twice, It's All Right. A lot of standards on here. Oxford Town. Talking World War III Blues is fantastic. Funny as shit. You got I Shall Be Free, which ends the album. You got a version of Karina Karina. To me, this is his best album. I like this way better than Times They Are Changing. This is just a great album. Freewheelin' Bob Dylan, coming in at number 2. And coming in at number 1 is an album that really kicked off a whole new era of music. The Beatles, Please Please Me. Not only are the originals fantastic, the covers are fantastic as well. Yeah, all the covers are amazing. I Saw Her Standing There. Ask Me Why is a really underrated Beatles, early Beatles tune, in my opinion. Please Please Me. What a great single. Love Me Do, P.S. I Love You. I love Do You Want to Know a Secret, sung by George. Such a great melody, such a clever tune. There's a Place, another really underrated early Beatles tune. And then, of course, Twist and Shout, ending the album on a high note. The covers are great. You've got Anna. Oh, another great tune, too, that doesn't get enough talked about is Misery. Great John Lennon song, an original. But you got A Taste of Honey. I like their version of Taste of Honey. Baby It's You is fantastic. Boys by Ringo, Change, Anna, Go to Him. Yeah, just an album that just kicked off the British invasion and a whole new pop sensibility. I grew up with this one, though, in America, introducing the Beatles. The set list or the song list is pretty similar. But, boy, I played this a few months back. Boy, it really sounds terrible, the mastering of this album. You know, after all the years of all the mastering of Beatle albums, when you go back and you really listen to some of these originals, oof. Yeah, anyway. So, yeah, that's my top 10 great albums from 1963. Do you have any to add? Please put them in the comments section. I really appreciate you watching. And please subscribe if you haven't. Thank you so much. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.